to Spin 2.0, Advancing the Sale by Obtaining Commitment. In the short time we have together today, I'm going to speak with you about how important it is to advance our opportunities in major sales. So with that in mind, let's talk about developing the high-impact sales skills that we're going to need to be able to advance opportunities in a major sale as opposed to deal with continuations. This is our commitment up here. Our first thing is we want to be able to do is create the right call objective. Break the process down into the proper call objective. And as Stephen Covey used to say, begin with the end in mind. And that's exactly what we're doing here. The more specific we can make a call agenda, the more we can measure it and track its results. Combined with our ability to articulate exactly what we have to offer and what the client is looking for adds to that. Then we understand the impact to the client and we understand how we're doing from a progression standpoint. And ultimately, it's customer driven. That's how we truly become solution-oriented and earning that commitment that we want. We want it customer-driven. In the middle here, I have influence and results, because what we're doing is properly influencing to gain the results for the customer as to what they want. So if we look further at call objectives, there's a couple different call objectives, and I alluded to it earlier when working with sales reps and managers. Some people will say, during the call, I want to achieve this. And during the call, usually the typical things that lead up to that is they haven't pre-call planned. They haven't thought through what they really want to accomplish. And many times in the parking lot, they begin to think about what they want to cover. Well, when we do that, we have pretty bad ramifications, or you run some risks. Number one, if this is a hypothetical call objective, meet the new vice president of marketing and begin to develop rapport to understand their department. Very vague. Okay, what that tells me is it's rather transactional in nature. From a customer's perspective, how's the customer going to see that or read that in terms of making any progress or judging you as more of a consultant? It lacks substance. There isn't much to it. You know, everyone wants to build rapport and everyone wants to learn about there, but really ultimately, what are you going to achieve for the client? You have limited planning, and that's the key thing. The prospective customer realizes that there's very limited planning put into it. Their time is valuable, as yours should be too. And last and not least, you run the risk of not being asked back again. And that's the real detriment to not good call planning. Let's take the same objective, call objective, from a continuation or advancement standpoint. We want to achieve and advance on the call. Same one, meet the new VP of Marketing, confirm my understanding of the product launch, schedule a tour date for our facility to further understand our capabilities. Now, the reason that's more substantive is we want to confirm their understanding and our capabilities. What do we have then? We have a more consultative approach. We brought a specific desirable outcome of the call, and we're able to create an agenda that drives the call. Many times when I make calls with people, I really stress the idea of an agenda. An agenda truly works. Reps may push back at me and say, well, I don't want to get too formal. The reality is customers like it. I can't tell you countless times I've been on calls where we were kind of running short on time with an agenda, and we've had customers say to us, wait a minute, there's still a couple more items we need to cover on the agenda. An agenda shows you to be more consultative, you're specific, and you have a clear-cut idea of what you want to achieve, and customers will respect that. The next thing that a more specific agenda does, it allows you to move to an advancement. You have a measurable, definable goal during a call with that, and as a result, you get a better chance of an advancement. Different types of call outcomes. That was one of the objectives we talked about when I first opened up the workshop. And there's really basically four. There's sale, no sale, advance, or continuation. A sale speaks for itself. You're given the business. Really, in a major account sale, you really don't close the business. The days of closing business really are much different in a major sale. I like to say you implement the business, because at that point, with all the people involved, you're really now at an implementation stage. The other stage would be no sale. They've decided not to do business with you. They've chosen a different vendor. The third one is advance. An advancement is a commitment by the customer that's measurable, definable, and agreed upon. In the major account, major sale environment, it's critical that we break it down to advancements. What we don't want is a continuation, and that's the last section, the last type of sale. and it lacks commitment on the customer's part. It's open-ended, and I refer to it as a moving target. Great to see you. I'm glad you came by. Come by next month. Maybe we'll have lunch. No committal, no substance to it. And as I say, it's a moving target. We want to be up here in the advanced part. All right. Unfortunately, 90% of all outcomes end up somewhere in between. It isn't that clear, cut, and dry. So as a result, we need to understand how to deal with them in a major sale. So I believe the key thing is our questioning ability. We need to learn to question, clarify, and confirm, which allows us to read the situation for what it is, confirm our understanding of why the client has not agreed to something or a step and has given us a continuation, and respond through questioning. That's probably the most important aspect of this to be successful. To continue that consultative approach I talked about, it's critical that you're able to ask the questions to further clarify. And then you're able to propose an advancement. So, with that said, your ability to ask questions is directly related to your ability to convert a continuation, which we want to avoid, into an advancement. Questioning skills are what sets you apart from your other vendors and distinguishes you and in the eyes of the customer. Let's talk about a couple of responses from a customer, and how would we respond to those? Customer says, I like what I heard. Give me a call next week. Well, that's more of a continuation. How are we going to deal with that? The best way, or some of the best way, would be, I'm glad you liked it. Can you tell me what aspect of what you heard do you like, and what do I need to be prepared for the future for? What you're trying to do is get the customer to open up and clarify understanding, because otherwise it's a moving target, as I said. Customer said, I don't think we're at that point yet. Obvious disconnect. You may think you're farther along in the cycle, and then he or she throws that at you. It's critical to be able to back up and say, can you tell me at what point do you think we are, to ensure that moving forward we are at the right pace? Again, you want to ask the customer. Another one is, yes, that makes sense. We meet each Thursday at 2 o'clock. I'll put you on the director's calendar for 3:30. Great. A lot of people would come back to their boss and say, I have an advancement. I'm on the calendar for 3:30 next week. That is good. I like it. But if it was me, I would take that opportunity to say, tell me more about what we're going to cover at 3:30, who's going to be there, and what do I need to do to ensure that I am delivering what you're looking for. Use the opportunity to continue to ask questions. Another one would be, I do like the productivity it offers. Let me think about it. Okay? What aspect of the productivity do you like? And there must be some side of it that they're not happy with. It's up to you to frame the questions, to be able to ask the questions. I like the productivity. That's great. What do you like? What do I need to be prepared for next time? Again, questionings are critical to your success. Examples of advances, because some people say to us, well, what's an advance and what's a continuation? And we also refer to those as interim wins, because as I said, in a major sale is a series of steps and successes, advances, that allow us to get to the ultimate commitment. A presentation to senior management. Well, people usually don't put their reputation on the line to have you come in and talk to their senior management. That would be viewed as an advancement, a good advancement. A tour of your facility to confirm a specific capability. If we look back at that, there's obviously an interest in confirming our capabilities. They're willing to come and tour our facility. I would view that as an advancement with some more qualifications to it. An agreed upon trial with expectations. Again, there's something specifically that's measurable and quantifiable that the client's going to have you trial your product or service. An agreement to review contract terms. Well, we all know lawyers are very expensive, and corporate lawyers can be expensive, and people are not going to have lawyers read things unless they're pretty serious about things. I would view that as a good advancement anyway. And manage your expectations. And I put this down here because even when I was selling, I used to always say to myself, what's my manager going to ask of me when I get back? It's kind of another begin with the end in mind. What do I need to be able to answer to make the call successful? And that would help me generate more of an achieving call as opposed to just a doing call. Strengthen and advance and avoiding the continuation. And we use SMART, which is very, very simple. We want it to be specific. We want it to be measurable. We need it to be action-oriented by the client or the customer. It has to be realistic. For you to set unrealistic expectations only frustrates you and the client. And it has to be time-based. For someone to say how much they enjoy something, but then they come back and say, call me in 6 months, I don't know if that's really an advancement right now. It depends on the nature of the business that you're in. So it's really important to understand just how important it is to at least hold the customer accountable through these type of things. And I've had people say to me, well, if all 5 of these are not met, have I not made an advancement? I would say no. I would say if there's a specific, measurable, and time-based action or orientation the customer is committed to, I view that as an advancement. Again, it's specific to your business. So how do we convert continuations? Because customers throw them at us all the time. Here's a response to a continuation. We'll talk about what the continuation was. If your management team is unable to visit our facility, what if I offer a videotape tour via a webinar to your management team? Now, if we read into that, the continuation of the client would have been, I'm having trouble getting my management team to come and visit your facility. Whether he or she really is or not isn't relevant. The fact of the matter is, if the tour doesn't happen, you don't have an advancement. So one way to combat this would be, what if I offer a videotape tour via webinar for your management team? Now, a couple things are going to happen there. Number one, the customer is going to say, that's a great idea, of which I would know they are serious about seeing my facility. But if they throw another continuation at me, then I begin to really suspect if they're interested. So it's critical to recognize continuations and be able to combat them with offering a solution. So let's review a little bit about what we talked about. We talked about identifying the 4 call outcomes, and that 90% of our world in major sales, it's going to fall in between them, even though we've identified them. And we define the characteristics of a major sale, and the ones that I gave are very common. There may be more specific to your business. Obtaining a commitment in a major sale. The commitment is what we really want. That's the ultimate sale, but we need to advance opportunities to ensure we get commitments. Continuations keep us from that commitment. We define what an advance and a continuation is. It's a measurable, it's specific, measurable, action-oriented by the client. It's realistic, and it's time-based. That's how we can measure if we're making advances. And we developed achieve versus do call plans. Remember, achieve call plans, more specific, more consultative, thought, agenda-driven, as opposed to do, where the client may view you as just another vendor coming in. The key to your first call in doing achieve agendas and calls is to differentiate yourself. And converting continuations. We recognize continuations for what they are, and we're able to ask the questions to minimize those and turn those into advances. So, with that said, in our next module, we're going to talk about get real. And by that I mean, how do we apply this totally to your world, and how we can have you walk out in applying these characteristics and these skill sets to your environment. Thank you very much.